Well done, people. Evening all.
Gonna make.
I'd like to thank my speakers for last week. We've got 3 more again tonight. Once they get going, once I've introduced them, if you can keep your questions at the end, it'll just come up. Have we got any? What's it for them? It's better for the speakers and for everybody else. Right, bits from last week. This is what we covered last week. Johnny's compost, mycorrhizal fungi, insecticide, foliar, rockless feed, and crap compost, if you remember. There was some of that as well. So just a few bits covering that lot. Neem oil was mentioned as a good insecticide. You've got to get the ones if you see on the top of there. I can still hear background music. If you can mute yourselves, please, if you ain't. So if you see on the top of there, insecticide for allium leaf miner. That is the biggest problem we have in the Midlands. I mean, everybody gets aphids, green fly and red spot, but allium leaf miner is a pain in the arse. And there's neem oil there, as you see, and there's also decis. That's for the allium leaf miner as well. Neem oil is 2.5 ml to a litre. As you can see, there's 500 ml in there for 14 quid. So it will last you. That's another one, deep clean. This is what I use. This is only 5 ml per litre. Don't forget all this stuff that's flogged nowadays. It's all off the internet. But it's all at a concentrate, meaning you've got to water it down, dilute it. So if you think it's costing a bit, don't forget you have got to dilute it. But that's a good one. That's for your aphids, red spider as well. I use that on my leeks and in the greenhouse at the moment. If you are organic, you can get away with growing organically. I've tried it 2 years. About 6 years ago, I tried it for 2 years on the trot. Couldn't do it. Not with the allium leaf miner, the flea beetle, and red spider. If you're exhibiting, you're going to waste 2 years if you don't use these baddies. Right, crap compost. If you don't remember, I put my grow bag what we flog on down the trading shed. I can hear somebody in the background. Can you mute yourself, please? This is another compost somebody put on the internet during the week. This is Super Grow. I don't know where they had this from, but as you can see there, it says organic garden compost soil improver. There's a clue if it's going to be good or not. 4 bags for a tenner. Always read the small print. And when they got home, they opened it up, and all these bits on the right they took out. Now look at that. It's crap. This is similar to when our local council started flogging the bags of compost down the local tip for 2 quid, and it was rubbish. And Birmingham City Council started doing their compost, and they couldn't give it away to all on sites. That's how crap it was, and it looked similar to that stuff there. It is crap, and that's the lumps they had out of it. It is full of, although the government now have told them all, you can add extras. And don't forget what it said on the front of the bag, organic. So all that plastic is organic. There's bits of glass in there, even that was out of it. So you got organic glass, organic pottery. What a load of crap. And I'm getting away with it. Right, Johnny's compost, that was also mentioned last week. I've been flogging this from our trading sheds for a few years now. You can get Johnny's seed, Johnny's number 1, number 2, and number 3. Obviously, with the seed-based compost, these are soil-based, as it says there. Look, soil-based compost for young plants. That's number 1. But number 1, number 2, and number 3 Johnny's, they have a base fertilizer in, and they also have chalk in, which is different to the seed compost. What's it made of? Loam, obviously. Then peat, sphagnum moss peat. I always thought because it meant soil-based that there was no moss peat in it, but there is. That shocked me when I read the small print. Also, you got your sand and your fertilizer. There's different makes. These are the ones I've got Westland with Johnny's number 2. But I did try them, these 20 odd year ago. Soil base, but it's too heavy. The compost is too heavy, meaning it takes longer to dry out with the roots, and as compared to multi-purpose compost. Roots can get going easier with a compost. That's why I like using it. So the Johnny's for me went out the window. There aren't many people now that buy it from our trading sheds, but there are still a few. The diehards, I suppose. Saw this earlier on in the week. This is off Jennifer Reaming. As you can see, Reaming converse now. Who's that in the middle? There's a good wench, eh? He's giving me a lift. Right, 2 people have asked during the week reference top dressing with rock dust and foliar feeding again. They either missed last week or they didn't look through the lot just to cover it. So I'm sieving it again, meaning I'm getting the dust out underneath. The smaller the particles, the better. So if I'm top dressing a plant, all I need is a pinch and then drop a bit around a plant and then water it in. So you can either put it that way or you can make a dilution rate. This is probably about, well that's a 2-pint jug. So I'll put about 1 inch of the rock dust on the bottom and then put rainwater in about 1/4 of a pot, because I'm only going to fill off half a litre spray. I don't want to get the lumps out the bottom, so I'll pour that in and then I'm going to put it through another filter. This is to get all the lumps out again. Because I am using that spray there, I don't want to keep undoing that and getting all the bits out that's clogged it up. So I want to get out as many bits as I can. And there's the last of the bits. Put that in me half litre spray bottle. Very slowly. Once I start getting the dregs on the bottom, then that lot I'll get thrown on one of the bushes around the garden. I'll put a drop more water in there, rainwater, swill it round and then throw it under one of those shrubs. And then I start spraying. As soon as the sun's gone, everything that's normal. Everything in the greenhouse outside gets a good spray of it. And I'm on my, this is from last week, so I'm on my 4th spray now using it. And I haven't had to stop for a clogged up nozzle. So it does work. Don't forget, it's just somewhat extra feed. Right, mycorrhizal fungi. Let's get on to this one. Mycofungus, basically, you can get ectomycorrhizae and endomycorrhizae. Those are the 2 main ones. When they started finding these, originally it started off years ago with if you get leaf mold in a forest, nice to scrape the leaves up, and behind was white fibrous roots. That's mycorrhizal fungi. Took the big boys 20 odd years to find out it was good, which obviously it was, and then to make it themselves in powder form. And they found out there's ecto or endo. And there's 90% of plants on the planet that will use one of these, but you've got to read the small print if you buy it. You've got the rhizoberia and the mycorrhizae. You've got to look. These work symbiotic with the plants and the roots. The plants help the roots out, the roots help the plant out, basically. These are off the internet, and some of these, I think that was the one they started flogging in Wilco, RHS, years ago. But you've got to read the small print, because some of these are only for, let me read off here. Woody plants, this is the ectomycorrhizae. It's for woody plants, trees, roses and aphids. So if you're looking at these here, because you've got a picture of a rose on or a flower, then there's your clue. Always have a look on the back. Make sure it's got the endomycorrhizae in as well. And that's why I use these Symbio. When it first come out, I rang everybody up and asked them who got the most endomycorrhizae, and that's all I buy bulk off, and I've stuck with them ever since. Scott asked me about these. He knew I was growing these bougainvillea. He said, can you give us an update? Obviously he's bought one with a lemon tree. Still looking into that one. This is a photo I found out from last year. That was probably the state I had it in, but a beautiful colour, and it flowers all year till the first frost. Well, they should be done away by the first frost because they are very susceptible to the cold, meaning they've got to be grown in a pot if you're going to do it outdoors. Well, indoors as well, obviously they've got to be in a pot. But I can't see you getting away with leaving these outdoors, even if it was protected, like somewhat up a corner. You still got to get them indoors. So every couple of years, I'll check the roots, see if it wants a bigger pot. But that's how I started with that one. Then I had another two. I had one from mother-in-law. I think he's had that now 3 years, that one. And I had this one last year. I think this was from Lidl as well. You can see when I chopped the tops off that one earlier on. This one I thought I'd lost it. I've kept it over winter in a greenhouse, frost free, exactly the same as I used to try and keep my chili pepper plants or any pepper plant. Just let them go dormant, look after them. But I used to lose them as well. And this one on the right, I thought I'd lost him. But I've learnt now, never throw anything away. Just give him a little feed earlier on, and he started coming through. This top looked dead as a ferret and all, but on that bit there, if I go to the next photo, that's what that is. There's a bit of growth on there when he started earlier on, but he died off and he went crisp. So if I'd have chopped him off, then I'd have wasted that top bit because he's thrown another shoot out the bottom. Although he's had it, don't forget this plant's still got to survive, so he's had another shoot out the bottom. So it's a good job I didn't job him. So they will come back, and that's the plant. We bought it indoors in the kitchen over winter, and that's what he's been doing. And he was still in flower, obviously, when we bought him in at the end of last year, because he still got flower. No, well, not flower, the leaves. But he's still got a nice bit of colour on him, and we've kept him in the kitchen ever since. And every now and then I just take him out and give him a mist spray and a bit of feed if he dries out too much. But next year I might even get another one and leave it to bloom in the kitchen all year. Just a nice bit of colour. And that's how the chap looks now. That's it. That's where he is now. Obviously when we start up and we get rid of the cold nights, then he'll go out in the patio. As you can see, I've potted him all on already. That was the end of last year. So I'll just look after the chaps and keep them frost free. Is that good enough, Scott?
Thanks, Mick. What sort of compost are you using? Just normal?
Any multi-purpose, and I like the vermiculite. Yeah, I like the drainage.
Thanks, mate.
Right, looking at me back door of the porch up the garden, you'll see I've got to bloody net everything in because of the hound. But the blue and white bells are still in flower. The only thing with these now, I'm hiding everything else. Everything else is trying to get through. But that's the situation we're in. Jeffrey, you've got a couple of questions for the troops. I'll put that on the photo for you as well. Okay, mate, all yours.
Hi, everybody. Just a question. I've asked Colin this before. Don't know what you call them here. The pansies or violas, the little flowers. And I'd like to get seed of these, sow them, and get the same growth on them like I did this year. These were bought in September, planted on top of my tulips and narcissa in a pot. They've started flowering in October, and they've kept flowering all through. This was last week, and they're still going strong. All the tulips and all have gone. But my question is, if I collect the seeds, when do I sow them to get the same growth on them to plant them out September and keep them flowering through till March, April, May next year?
Colin, got any ideas?
Well, I'll I've got a picture later on of my winter pansy baskets, which are flowering even now. I sowed the seeds of those on, it was early August, and germinated them, grow them on, potted them on, and planted the baskets up September, October time, and they've survived all through the winter. I believe pansies and violas, you can actually sow the seed anytime you like through 12 months of the year, depending on when you want them to flower. And I'm doing an experiment this year with my hanging basket, because Jeffrey's asked this question. I'm actually taking the baskets down eventually, but I'm going to grow them on just to see how much more mileage I can get out of a basket of flowers, because they've made a beauty, as Jeffrey says, they've been flowering since October, November last year, and they're in full bloom now. So I'm hoping they'll last all summer. So we'll see. I'll report back on that. But basically, pansies and violas, if you look up, you can sow any time of the year, depending on when you want them to flower.
Okay.
Jeff, I had mine in October.
I'll tell you a good source of information that I use regarding sowing dates, etc. I use a company called Moles Seeds, MOLES.
Yeah.
On the internet, they are a very, very good seed, and all their seed varieties, they give you cultural hints on the individual varieties, and they will tell you how to grow those seeds commercially.
Oh, okay. I've written it down. I'll have a look.
If you look at that, you can pick up relevant information that's applicable to yourselves. That's what I've been doing over the last 3 or 4 years, and obviously some of the industrial methods aren't applicable, but you can pick up some hints and tips regarding sowing dates and flowering times.
Okay, because
cheers, Colin.
Can I
Jeffrey?
Nigel?
Just a quick one, Colin. I've done similar to you with the pansies. I've grown them for the first year, more or less like biennials. I've sown them about June, July. Then I've put the plants in pots, overwintered them, and then they've flowered the following year.
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
And in particular, pansies and violas, once they've germinated, they do like to be grown cold.
Cold, yeah.
They don't like, for instance, they wouldn't be happy in the greenhouse even. Once they're germinated and established, it's best if you can move them outside in a cold frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I find they spread everywhere anyway. After you grow them, you'll have a bed you don't egg up. No, I had it from the 1 year.
Yeah.
Cheers, Colin. Okay, Jeffrey, has that answered you?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Good man. Right then, still doing my Zooms. I've got a talk coming up Thursday, which is Wickham Market in Surrey, I think. That's near you, ain't Scott, somewhere. I know it's bloody miles away.
Yeah. It's closer to me than you, probably.
It is. But I've got a few talks coming in, and them starting from July, so that's good news for me. Next one. Right, Blossom, this is my bottom orchard on the plot. Blossom tells you things are waking up, which is what I want. Also, there is my outside grapevine. And it's just starting to show a spurt, as we can see on here. You see the new buds. When I first had him, because I had 2 new grapevines for inside the tunnel. This is on the plot, obviously. And the next day after I've had them, I had this one come through the post, which I didn't ask for. And I rung them up. I says, I've only paid for 2. I says, you've sent me 3. I don't want 3. He said, oh, it's our cock up, you can keep him. So I thought, well, I've got nothing to lose. I didn't pay for him, so I planted him outside. But this is north facing, which when we do get the sun, then it's ideal, which tells you there. You can see I've had him a couple of years because of the thickness, but I'll get away with him. Right, my growing structure on the bottom, because I've taken the net off the top over winter, because if we'd had a good dollop of snow, which we had a few good dollops, it would have caved in the, what's it? But pigeons, because surrounded by 3 fields, all my brassicas that I got in, I started bloody ferreting all of them, meaning I had to get my net out. So I got him out of storage, out of the garage. Luckily I can fold him up and get him in one bin liner, and I know where the corner is, because I come from that way to here and that into here. So I know where to start, i.e. from now. Obviously a windless day when it's dry, and that takes me about 20 minutes to go all the way around, because there's Velcro stapled onto the woodwork, obviously, which is permanent, and then Velcro which is stuck onto the net, and that goes on there. Right, spent coffee grounds. This is how I get them from Tesco. I'm in little paper bags, so I've got to open them up. And then these lots here, you might think that's going mouldy because I've had it a couple of weeks in the garage, but I just rub it out by hand, and then it comes out in a powder form. But it's good brew anyway. Twice a year, all my raised beds are top dressed with spent coffee grounds. This is my first yearly one, so I've started up the top of the garden and all my raised beds there. Don't forget it's a natural product, so it will break down, and then obviously it gets watered in. And Scott sent me this one this afternoon. Used coffee grounds, and I'm flogging them £1 a bag. Costa, cheeky shit.
Couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe it either.
I know.
Cheeky buggers.
I know.
Delphiniums, I've got to keep my eye on these now. I think I put it on a couple of weeks ago. There was a leaf turning, which is another one there. Just go in there, open him up and have a nose. Because there's somewhat hiding in there, and there's a little bugger. So obviously he went for walks after I found him. But now I'll go around everything. Right, back to me. This is the inside of my tunnel on the allotment. Grapevines, obviously started up. The dead leaves are obviously from last year. Most of them have dropped off, but the ones that haven't dropped off, I'll help them out and take them off. And this is about 3/4 away the length of the wire. So by the end of the season, I want it right to the full end. This is looking at where it comes in. So it's planted outside and comes up underneath. Any new growth that comes from there upwards, obviously that gets taken off as well because I don't want it. My wooden structure on the plot, I've now took the fan down and that is rigged up. And when we do get the sun, like I think we got the rain and the sun for the next week or something, like exactly the same we did last week. And it is getting warmer. Taking the hound for a walk this afternoon when the sun did come out, it was beautiful. But it's pot luck when you get bloody rained on. But that's our weather aid. So, but when this fan does come up, it makes a difference. So he's up and running. Right, our first speaker tonight is Jerry. We've had him a couple of times before. He's our RHS fruit expert. Jerry, are you ready, mate?
That's an interesting picture of me, isn't it? Yeah, well, good evening all. Yes, I'm going to try and brighten your lives up a bit. Even though many of you know me, I know many of you. Even though my veg are struggling a bit at the present time, the fruit's going well. And I thought I'd cheer you all up tonight with just a few pictures of some of the things we do, and actually how this time of year can be great for us. Now, some of the pictures I'm going to show you now, and I apologise, there's quite a few tonight, because Mick complained I didn't give you enough last time. Give you an idea of some of the ways we grow our fruit. I think everybody now knows you can grow apples, pears, plums, cherries, apricots as cordons, and they're really good for covering shed structures and other things up, just as in this picture. This is the way we grow apples and pears at Wisley. This is the tall come staff shed at Wisley, and within a few weeks' time from now, you'll hardly see the shed apart from the window because it'll be covered with leaf. A way of growing it. And in the foreground, you can see some step-over trees, another way of sort of growing fruit trees to act as boundaries. Okay, Mick, next one. You're in control, yeah. And again, the gable end, this in fact is a plum fan, because plums and cherries are best really grown as fan structures. And this is a really good fan. Doesn't look much this time of the year, but once it starts leafing up, flowering and fruiting, it looks magnificent. Okay. Again, another one. This is an espalier tree. This is an espalier pear tree. A really good way of growing apples, pears in particular. It enables you to cover a large wall. Mick's certainly got some, as we see in this slide regularly. You can grow them against wires, or in this case, you can grow them against fences. A good reason for growing them against fences, particularly for an area as Wisley is, a bit of a frost pocket, a lot of damage this year. You can actually put a little net over the top of the fence and just net them off, or mesh them overnight in the really cold nights. Okay. This is a yew cordon. Some of these features are really attractive. I'm going to sort of move on to growing fruit attractively now, because we can grow veg and allotments attractively. We can actually grow fruit attractively and make them part of the garden in some way. And whilst this isn't a big orchard, this is at Raymond Blanc's orchards at Le Manor Quatre Station up in Oxford. This is in fact a yew cordon of an early apple tree. Not only is it does it look quite good, it looks much better when it's in fruit, but actually allows you to grow 2 stems from 1 root, which is fairly productive. Okay. Next one, Mick. I'm talking about espaliers against wires. We saw one against the shed and against the wall and fence. This, like Mick, you can grow them against wires and long wires. Really came initially from France, the times of Louis XIV, who developed all these modern, they're still modern actually, 200 years on, these ways we grow things now are restricted ways of growing fruit trees. And he developed this fantastic fruit growing industry, shall we call it, at Versailles, when he learned how to grow trees as productive as possible. And the main reason it's productive is you prune it very, very hard, and it produces lots of fruit without much wood. And this is an espalier, obviously comes from a French word. And it's a way of growing. You can grow them in a one-leg corn, which is in fact one-leg espalier, which is in fact a step over 2, 3, 4, 5 onwards and upwards. But it's quite an attractive way of growing them. Okay, Mick. Frost. Those of us down in the south, particularly some with frost this year. I'm sure some of you guys at the present time did a lot of the veg, of course, we do grow indoors. Down the south this spring, there's been a lot of really, really cold weather. Certainly at Wisley, RHS Wisley, I reckon half of the plums have gone, half the pears are gone, or the apples are gone, purely due to frost. Whereas some fruit will sort of survive down to -3, it was some nights was -5 or 6. This, in fact, is an orchard up in Oxford, being out in the open. It's saffron frost damage. You can see at the bottom where the flowers have gone black. Sometimes trees which were frosted will recover. In this instance, it's destroyed. All that blossom is destroyed. Quite a sad feature this year, but a few weeks ago we were getting these really, really warm days, if you recall. Those of us down the south were, but equally really cold nights. Okay. That's the sad part of these slides. And now we're talking about, we're moving to my orchard. I grow 300 different apples and pears.
300.
And, 300. And we talk about decorative growing, because I'm all about decorative growing. I do have a large site, I have an acre of fruit growing area, but we do try and grow things decorative, because I all believe in, we've got to enjoy it. My grandfather used to be a big fruit grower, but I remember every week of his life, apart from 1 week at the end of October, he wouldn't leave home. He would only have holiday 1 week a year. Right? I won't do that. So we're going to make things work, but also have the space to enjoy. And so I'm determined my fruit looks after itself because I have holidays, and I want the orchards and area to be decorative. So underplanted all my fruit trees are forget-me-nots, which are these, and bluebells, and obviously occasional weed. Whereas, of course, I will always preach, never let weeds grow underneath your trees, particularly fruit trees, because it'll starve of nutrients and water. Things like forget-me-nots, very transient. They're in a short period of time. And as soon as they finish flowering, they're pulled up, and they will not have any effect on the trees, and they will harbour minimal pest or disease. Okay? That's just looking down at it. Again, just another way of growing it. You can see how I grow a lot of my trees. I grow them decoratively. I grow them in arch formation with slightly angled cordons, but they work exceptionally well indeed and very, very fruitful. But I promise you, pruning 300 fruit trees is about 6 weeks' work. Again, just a very early morning. I don't really do early mornings, I tell you, not like some of you guys. I mean, 9 o'clock's early for me, but this was an early morning at 6 o'clock. And I thought I couldn't sleep, so I got up and just to look down part of one of my orchards, and I just thought that looks fantastic. And a walk down there was absolutely brilliant. Just the decorative side of things. Okay. Next one, Mick. Just a bit more. This is my bottom part of my orchard. I keep bees as well. Well, you've really got to keep bees, haven't you, if you're going to grow that amount of fruit. There's 5 beehives there, which I think only have got 3 have got bees in the present time. I've got more sheds than I care to think. About 7 sheds. Several greenhouses, but this is a greenhouse down there where I do a lot of my propagating.
We got onto that. Oh, bloody. On this Zoom morning thing again.
Somebody mute yourself, please.
Talking about flowers again.
Can you all mute yourself?
Fucking flowers.
Mark Jackson, can you mute?
Yeah.
You can mute it. You can mute him, Nick, can't you?
Bloody stuff. So. It's just all right, you know.
Yes, you can mute him. That's it. So that's just a bit. And of course, again, it's decorative. I love bluebells. I love acres of bluebells. You'll find a lot of dandelions in there. Actually, much as dandelions are a real pain in the backside, they're really good for bees, full of nectar. And so I don't mind the dandelions growing near the hives. And lots and lots of cow parsley, really very good. And the bees will stay in my orchard and do their job. Okay, Mick? Next one, please. Mick? Can you hear me, Mick?
Yeah, I'm pressing. Nothing's happening.
Right, I thought you died for a minute there.
Nah. There is a delay on these when I press them.
I think there's a couple more, aren't there?
Sake.
While Mick is working that out, has anybody got any questions?
Word.
Oh, there we are. Just to show more, I do got a lot of veg. I got a lot of veg in the ground, spuds, carrots, parsley, a lot of exhibition stuff I grow. But again, I border all of my allotment area. This is allotment at the bottom of my garden. I border it all with trees and decorative plants because I want it to look good. That's okay. It's all about decoration this time of the year. I just an example of a few other ways you can grow trees. That tree, it's the reason I show that tree is I planted a community orchard locally, about 30 trees. And the edict was to try and have small trees. Well, not all the work, but that tree is only 4 foot high. It's 10 years old. And there'll be hundreds of apples on there at the end of the season. It just shows what you can do with small trees if you want to. Okay, Mick?
What variety was that, Jerry?
That is a variety called, my mind's got Fiesta.
Fiesta.
Really good late keeping variety. It's a Cox's orange pippin seedling. Again, I haven't intruded down the garden. This is just, as it is now. A lot of the forget-me-nots have been pulled out. because they were finished. We had this early season here and it got wet. So forget not to over, so they were all pulled out and I cleared up. And that's the situation. Her ladyship is sitting down the garden, as you can see. But also on the left-hand side, you'll see a mason bee nest. I'm an organic grower, and I know that's an interesting discussion to be had elsewhere. A few people around this table know I'm an organic grower. Apart from my own bees, I do keep mason bees. I have serious nests of those bees, which Mick is pointing to now. They're really good, really active, and they will fly at a slightly lower temperature than honeybees. Honeybees will fly at about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas bumbles and mason bees will fly at about 45 degrees. So in the slightly cooler days, we can get mason bees and bumbles out pollinating where honeybees are keeping their toes warm. Okay, Mick? That's another tree in my garden. That's 6 foot high. That's 20 years old. It's a variety I grafted myself 20 years ago. It'll be full of, as you say, it's full of blossom now. It'll be full of fruit. It's a variety called Jester. It's a really, really good show apple, but it's also a really, really good apple to eat at Christmas time because it turns bright red and it's absolutely glorious. Okay, Mick, is that it? No, that's another look. Again, another look. I'll keep harping on about this because I also believe it's got to look nice. It's hard work growing those things. And I think, obviously, I got one slide out of order, but again, it just shows you what it can look like for a short period of time. Very short period of time, everything's in blossom and everything underneath is growing nice. But it is that period of time we can enjoy yourself, early spring. Mick? Larger trees, there's Worcester Pearmain, there's Blenheim Orange, the Discovery, there's a Bramley Seedling. I do grow some bigger trees because they're tip bearers and they don't really grow as corns. And the big trees, and it does add a bit of structure to the garden, a bit of heightened trees, and it's a bit of fun then because you can walk underneath them and enjoy the space. And that is it. Just gives you an idea to try and cheer you up in this rather, what we've got a sort of dull day down here in the south. But the bit of blossom, it's nearly all come off now and they've finished fruiting. But that period of time when everything looks nice before we now have to think about the weeds and the pest and the disease.
Well done,
Does anyone have any questions on
Jerry? Yes,
fruit?
no. Okay, Jerry.
I can't hear. Yeah, no.
Regarding apple trees and growing as a spalier, is there any preferred rootstock to use?
There's the best two rootstocks for growing for any restricted trees, espalier, cordons, will be a rootstock called M26.
Yeah.
It's like the M25, it's actually M26.
Yeah,
which stands for Morning. 26 came from East Morning, and MM106.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
One of those two, MM106. If you live in a damp area, and really we're talking about the West Country, the rootstock MM116 is a good one to use.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Jeffrey.
Right.
Hi, Jerry. I've got a question. A few years ago, I bought apple trees, but from the last ones they had in Aldi here in Belgium.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They kind of a crap. So they were espalier formed, but it was about 1 meter each side of stick, and then a little pom-pom on the end of a few flowers. So I decided to chop them off all the way to the stems, and now they are really covered. The one single stem upright is now really covered, like full of little tufts of green. Do I keep them short, like in your pictures, the ones against the shed at an angle, or do I let them go out again as fully trees? It's
without knowing what they are,
a golden delicious
Jeffrey,
and a fox.
A golden delicious and a what?
A golden delicious and then a Cox's orange pippin.
You know, I always surprises, and one of my favourite apples at Christmas time is Golden Delicious. Golden Delicious isn't a green apple, which we said it as. It's a gold apple, which tastes of honey at Christmas, and it's not an apple, which is easier to grow, but it's a really good apple, Jeffrey. And it's really, I would grow it as a cordon. I'll grow it as a cordon. It's a really, really good apple, but do be careful. Do look after it. Cox's Orange Pippin's probably the finest apple in the world, but one of the hardest apples in the world to grow. It's very, very hard to get Cox's Orange Pippin to work without using a lot of encouragement.
Okay.
Even the commercial growers rarely use it nowadays. Persevere with it, Jeffrey.
Okay.
But if you're not successful after 3 years, I would suggest that you perhaps remove it and plant something else.
Okay. One more question. Do you know?
I've got a few questions here. Lizzie's asked about how do you prune tip bearers, and the best thing with Lizzie, don't prune tip bearers if you haven't got to, because the tip bearers, once they're mature, the fruit buds at the end of the tips will keep the tree under control. As soon as you cut those tips off, the tree will start growing again. So if you can, leave the tips alone. If you need to prune them back, just prune back 2/3 of the previous year's growth, but be aware that you will cut your crop for a couple of years down. So try not to prune tip bearers if you haven't got to. If you have to take branches out, cut them right back to the trunk or the stem, but not just hairdress, not just play around with the tip bearer.
Okay, thank you.
Jerry, can I ask?
Yes.
You showed pictures of your cordon and your fans up against sheds, etc.
Yeah.
Is it possible to grow on a north facing wall, a north aspect, or is that a no-go?
Well, a cold shed wall, it's quite difficult. There's one really, really good fruit tree to grow against a cold shed or cold wall, and that's the Moreno Cherry.
Oh, right.
It thrives in cold conditions. Goodness knows why. It thrives in cold conditions. Whilst you can't really eat it, it's a fantastic cooking cherry for jams and pies and things, and it will really thrive on a cold wall. Sometimes you can play with other ones, but I would suggest Morello is probably the best thing in the world for growing in those conditions. And it also looks really nice. Fantastic blossom and then fantastic fruit. Because it's sour, the birds don't tend to eat it quite as much as some of the sweet cherries.
Okay.
That's what I like to think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Jerry, I've got Golden Delicious.
Yeah.
That's about 5 foot tall, maybe 6 foot tall. And where the main branch, the stems come off at the top.
Mm.
Just below that, there is a big scab that's formed, and I can't see it. It's round the back. I can feel it. What can I do with it? Shall I cut it off there?
Well, it could be, of course, it could be canker. The plant type of cancer. Some trees will grow through it. How much of the bark's it taken off, Steve?
Not much at the moment. I haven't even dug it out yet, but it's definitely a canker.
Well, the old way was you cut the canker out and put something horrible on it. I tend to leave canker on and see if the tree will grow out. If it's a strong growing tree, give it a really, really good feed, blood, fish and bone, feed it, and the tree may well overcome the canker itself. The reality is, if you cut the canker out, it might well come back elsewhere.
Okay.
Yeah,
get the tree to grow out of it.
It's about 4 inch in diameter.
Yeah, I mean, if you cut it out, it's then you could, if it's that big and you're concerned, cut it out. Don't put a bit of Vaseline on it because it's nice and organic, and then cover it up with a bit of budding tape or grafting tape to cover the bare wood and try and see if it'll grow back. But in reality, if you're going to cut it off, it's got to grow back somehow and keep that cambium covered, or it could rot all the way through.
Thanks, Jerry.
I always leave the cankers on, and half the time they will survive somehow.
Can you use cling film, Jerry, to wrap around it?
Well, you can. I don't want to use cling films. The cling film will stick to the cambium, and I would actually rather have some plastic tape and plastic bags or something like that. We'll just wrap it around it for a couple. It's just like when we're grafting or budding. We want to protect the wound. It's trying to protect the wound to try and let the cambium grow back again.
Okay.
But not clean fill, 'cause that'll stick. That'll stick.
Any more questions for Jerry while we got hold of him?
Or get back to your veg. I'm always saying, get back to your veg then. That's what you've all. That's what you've all come for tonight, not me.
Just briefly, Jerry, the two small trees that you showed, Fiesta and Jester,
Yeah.
were they on this rootstock M26? Because you said they were only 6 foot tall.
Yeah. Jester was on M26 and Fiesta was on M106. In reality, there's not a lot between the two. So if you're trying to buy a tree, you'll get offered it on one of those two. So I think it was that way around. So I wouldn't, they're very similar. Right. So I plant, if I'm buying in stock, I will get one of those two rootstocks because a nursery will tend to use either 26 or MM106. So they're both very similar.
Right. Thanks. Cheers.
I'm sure you get me again in 2 or 3 weeks, mate. But that's a cheerful bit tonight, the flowers. So that'll be gone soon. Yeah. Mick.
Jerry, you're a star. Thank you, sir.
Of course. Anytime. You know that.
Good man. Right, let's get going again. Right, we're on. Right, composting. This was last week. Obviously, I've chopped and mixed everything up, and I'm starting putting the end bits into me compost bin. Level it off as normal, give it a good soaking, and the 2 mats on top. Because it's been cold and it's not warm enough yet, there's worms aren't as active as I want them to be. So this is a one-off. I'm adding extra worms. Fishing tackle shop, $3.50 for a good dollop, and they're going in. Luckily, I've left the carpets on the bins. Normally by now the carpet winter coat has come off because we've had some, well, we should be getting warmer weather, but we're still getting the cold nights, so I'm just helping them out. Right, swing corn. That chap in the middle, all these 3 were sown at the same time, meaning potting on when they need it makes all the difference, as you can see there. If I'd have potted them 2 the same as him, they'd have been the same size as me. As soon as that plant roots, well, any plant, what's in a pot, as soon as the roots start going around the bottom, that tells me to pot them on. Most people wait till they get a bit more root band than that before I pot them on, which goes through there. We'll come on to that again later on. Steve, this is for you, Steve Chambers. If you remember me tunnel step, this is the greenhouse back of the garden. And just about there, a couple of months back, if we zoom in, this is the babby of my mate who was there before. So his young have come back to find his parents. God knows how we got in there. Right, back garden. These are me tough ball onions. If you've got a good eye, let's see if I can zoom in. Yeah, the old wires. When I planted these out, you can still see the wires on. I've got my small wires which are on there and my large wires. These now need helping out in the sense I'm putting eye canes on and the onion clips. So the wires are going to come off as well, and also I'm keeping these upright. These are for showing, don't forget, but also for eating. If you want a decent eating onion, you want them to last when you put them in your net, hang it up in the gouge or whatever. Look after them, keep them nice and upright. Obviously, if you're going to put 200 or 300 in, then it don't matter. But this is how I look after mine. So all the wires have come off. I've finished with them, and these are all straightened and earthed up.
Oh yeah.
As we can see there, as you notice, go back on that one. All my beds have got the straw on, and once a week, don't forget these are under cover, top of the garden. So all these are watered once a week. That's different to see if I'm feeding the plants, because I want to keep this straw moist as well, keep the moisture in there. Right, I've only got 3 trays or double trays of gladios left. This is me 5th sowing, 5th consecutive week. So there's a tunnel bed at the top there, and then these two. I think that was all. And then I've got my next lot, as you can see there, all skinned down, ready to go. I've got my vermiculite ready to go in the holes, and my rabbit muck with a straw, and my lines ready. So let's get going. Cover comes off. So end of the season last year, this was top dressed with rabbit muck and spent hops, and it was just left to go. So half of it has broken down and gone in already, which is what I want. No digging, nothing. 3 lines laid out. Don't forget 4 foot wide bed, so I've got 3 lines of gladdies. Bit black over Bill's mothers. Vermiculite, once I got my holes out, and then the corms are planted or placed on top of them. 3 rows done. Then are backfilled and levelled. I don't firm these in even slightly with a hand fork or nothing, because some of them have got a inch and a half of a spike on. And the one thing I do not want to do is damage that top of that spike at all. But after a couple of days of rain, don't forget these beds outside, then that will compact itself anyway. Look after you that way. So half a bed I've done this time. So then what I've got left will go in this loft. If there's any left over next week, then they'll go in pots, which I did again last year up the back garden. So I dropped top dressed with the straw, and it has got a rain, so I didn't water. Right, my prims, these are new for me this year, as from last year. I tried them for the first time, my prims, loved them, fell in love with them. So these lot are got to be skinned down as well. I've separated these two, so I've got 2 lots. So all skinned down. The difference in colour of the corms there, 2 yellows or 2 red ones. Don't matter as long as they give me a nice flower. Because I got if it's 2, 4, 6, so there's 3 weeks lot there. So obviously 2 per week in a pot. And obviously they're not odd, so I've got 3 in that one. Oh, it's time for the wheel. Right,
wheel.
Paul, if y'all get this, I'm going on. Right, troops, I'll go see that going round. Mark, you trod in some. Didn't you have that 2 weeks ago or last week?
Yeah, cheers, mate. I won that again.
Don't rub it in. The bloody trod in stomach.
If Colin wins, does he get free sausages?
I don't think well.
Lynn.
No, Lynn. Unlucky, Nigel.
Colin, it's your turn. Are you ready, sir?
All right, we'll see how we get on, Mick. Yes, we had a bit of a problem downloading the pictures, didn't we? So
yeah.
It could be.
What it is, Colin downloads it. Well, there's quite a few of your downloaded pictures, obviously, numbered off, ready to go through. And then when I've downloaded them from my end, they've come out all different. And the only way we've got around it, which a couple of days ago, was to put 1 picture on at a time, and it's worked. So I've got to give that to my speakers next week. Download 1 picture at a time. It's God knows. Anyway, Colin, good man. Over to you, sir.
We'll see how we get on.
Yeah.
Right, there you go. There's my bed of shallots growing quite well. Like everybody else now, it's time to thin out, especially if you were growing for showing, which I'm not particularly now, I used to. But growing for showing, I used to sort of scrape all the old detritus away, break them down and split them into I have split them into twos just to get big bulbs. Next picture Mick will show you. There you go. There's a set of 5 scraped away and laid flat. And then I've taken the 2 just for demonstration purposes now. Take the 2 away, leaving the 3 to grow nice, nice big bulbs. These are aristocrats. A lot of people grow the Hative de Noor, is it? I'm not never sure how to pronounce that. And a lot of people say that the 2 varieties are intertwined anyway. But these. Hello. Oh, right. Anyway, that's another view of the set that I've thinned out, and they'll make 3 nice shallots there. And that's just another general view. A lot of weeding to be done. It's surprising how the weeds take over. There's some, I think those are cauliflowers now, having to cover everything up. It really is, it's annoying. I know everybody has to do it. But I remember my granddad introduced me to growing. He had an allotment, and I can't remember my granddad ever covering anything up. And he seemed to grow, you know, from my memory, he seemed to grow wonderful stuff. But these days we don't seem to be able to grow anything without our netting. And there's 3. I think I've got cabbages, cauliflower, and calabrese in the next one. It's a bit of a pain, but it's necessary. Otherwise, you don't get any crops at all. There's some free slabs I scrounged off Facebook, just a mile up the road, free to collect. Thank you very much. We go, Nigel, if this don't work, mate, I'm coming round. You'll have to supply the chips.
Mate.
First time I've grown in buckets after following Nigel, so I've got 14. There are 30-litre buckets of various varieties. I can't recall which ones they are now, but there's about 4 or 5 varieties in there. So I'm following Nigel's instructions. I haven't put the straw on yet, but if it fails to work, yeah, I'm coming round for my chips.
30 quid for 10.
As a precaution, I have sowed 2 rows conventionally. Although I say conventionally, I didn't actually dig them in. As you know, I'm no dig, so what I've done is just place the tubers on the ground and just drew the compost up around them. I actually haven't dug a hole. So one way or the other, I should be guaranteed some spuds, I think. That's just another general view. This is a little bit of land on the side of my house. You see my house to the left there. This is a little bit of land that we bought years ago. It used to be the entrance to the farm before they built all the houses behind us. So we bought that, and it took me 2 or 3 years to really clear it out and get all the bricks and stuff out, but it's a nice piece of fertile ground now, and it's approximately 2/3, I think now, the size of a proper allotment. There's some more cabbages, there's some kale in there. There's my delivery of my bath gate, professional. I'm getting on very well with that. Recommend it. Plus the fact that it's only a 50-litre bag, so you know I'm 80 now, so it's it's easier for me to lump about. There's my overwintered colliers trying to. It looks a bit of a mess actually, but when you take them out of the pot and clean them up, I'm getting some nice plants which I'm planting around the garden, and they'll progress and make a nice show. There's a little bit of cheerful colour outside me rhino greenhouse, tulips and stuff. There's some spare shallots that I've got. They were left over, so I thought I won't waste them. I'll put them in, I think they're in 7-8 litre buckets. Hang on me. So I won't waste them, so we'll see how we get on, but they look as though they're doing all right. Next one is my leeks, I think, Mick. Leeks. Two pots of leeks there in the greenhouse ready to go. Well, they're not ready to go out yet, but they'll be growing on. Busy time of the year. There's some more leeks ready to go out. These were surplus, always grow too much. I've already put my leeks out, the ones I've got, but these are surplus, so I won't waste them. I shall put them in the borders, I think, if I haven't got room in the veg plot. I forgot the name of them. Oh dear. Completely forgot what the name of them
Is it lamb's lettuce?
Is it chard?
No, it's not chard. It's not. It's what you put in your stir fries. Pak choy.
Oh, pak choy.
Pak choy. Sorry. Two varieties of pak choy, which make nice, colourful show, and they're nice in stir fries. Dear, I told you I'm getting 80, so my memories are going as well. There's my first and second sowing of carrots in buckets. They're looking quite well. Need to sow some more actually. Yeah, they're coming along. Some lettuce ready to go out. And there's some of my surplus cabbages. Once again, I'm probably the same as everybody else, always sow far too many and have a lot of surplus over. There's our little helper. It's not actually, it's my daughter's dog. She's not very well at the minute, so we've had to look after George, and he's enjoying himself in the big garden. Landed on his feet. Now this is where Jane, my wife, used to have a water feature of an old half wooden barrel that was rotted. So we've decided to replace it. We started to dig it out, but it's proving to be a bigger job than we anticipated. And what I did once again on Facebook was I went on and I bought these. Next one, Mick. I bought these tubs. That tub is 3 foot diameter, 2 foot deep, so it's fairly big. I don't know how many litres there are, but I bought 2 £10 each. So we've got to dig one of those in for a water feature for the missing. Up alongside the shed, there's some. I bought some comfrey plants, planted those out, so they'll be out the way and give me a good supply of comfrey over the next foreseeable. And that's my fuchsia greenhouse. It's half empty now. I started moving my fuchsias out. Now the walnuts are here, laying them out on the patio. I'll have to take some photographs when they mature and in flower, but that'll be later on. And bedding plants, still on with me baskets. These are begonias semperflorans, wonderful value. They'll you plant a basket up entirely of these and it will last all year, give you a lovely show, cover the basket, and they're virtually maintenance free. The only thing that you have to do with them is once they get a little bit leggy, you just take your shears and trim them all off, take 4 or 5 inches off, and they'll come again and flower again and keep going until the frost. There's some more. Got hundreds of them. Right, these are me. Following mixed methods here of growing. I think this is my leek. Good root structure there. Ready to put out. So dig my hole as per Mick. And what do we put in the hole? The old microhyzal. Whack it in. I'm not taking as much care this year as I would have done previously, because obviously there's no show. I don't show now anyway, or don't try to show. But firm it in, good root structure on a nice base of microhyzal. You can see the soil structure there is nice. So we'll have some nice leeks. Next picture, Mick. And there's me sulfuma that I use in my fuchsia greenhouse. I find these work very, very well for getting rid of gnats and spider mite, etc. And white fly. Although having said that, I have got a little bit of white fly this year. Right, this, hello. This is probably astonish people. I don't know if anybody else does this, but this is my carrot bed. I've sown sweet candle carrots here, and I'm due to thin out, right? And what I do, instead of cutting the thinnings out, I probably sow 2 or 3 seeds per station, and I've always done this in the past. I tease the 1 or 2 up and transplant them into and just dib a hole with my finger and transplant the extra carrots, and I find that they survive. There you go. There's a little transplant. Be interesting to see if anybody's ever tried to do this previously. But and I've just poked a little hole between the other stations, potted that in, and they grow, and I'll get a nice eating carrot. So waste not, want not. Next one, Mick. And there you go. There I'm just easing. The one that I'm thinning out, and then I gently press the remaining one back, and I'll get some nice carrots. I'm still eating them. Right, these are a pot of salvia cuttings that I took early on. You remember the other week, Mick bought some salvias from the supermarket, and I was getting a bit leggy, such as these, and he trimmed them. Well, what I've done with this is I will trim these and use the trimmings as cuttings. Trim these off. There's, what is there? 3, 6, 7. Okay, should get 7 nice little cuttings out of that. And that's the original pot where I've trimmed the cuttings off, and they will grow on. I will split those up eventually and pot them on into individual plants ready to plant out. I can go out any time in the next 3 or 4 weeks when they're established. And there we are, we're making a little pot there for the 6 or 7 cuttings, and basic mistake actually, I haven't labelled them, so I don't know. I haven't got a clue what the variety is now until the flower. It's an age thing, I think. And there you go. I went to the end of it, but I couldn't find any gold. Yeah. Right, 2 pots for a friend of mine's a garden designer, and he got a customer asked me if I could get a couple of pots planted up. Now, I went up to the garden shop, bought these, £35 each, reduced. I think that was half price, astonishing price. But they are nice pots, guaranteed for 10 years. And I will plant those up now. I don't know if I planted them up. Have I met next one?
Yeah.
Yes, there we go. Planted them up with various growing those on, and they will make a nice show when they're established. I've made a bit of a mess there. I'll have to get the broom out. Never mind. And that is another supply of professional. All of a sudden one day somebody put on Facebook that the local village shop, village next to us, was stocking it. I phoned him up, and 2 days later he delivered that lot for me, which is very nice. He says he's going to stock it on a regular basis now, so I look forward to that. And oh, that's I'll come back to the basket actually in a minute. That's a nice fuchsia. It's the variety is called Thalia. That's in a 10-inch pot. It's about 2 foot tall, and it's just coming into flower. The showman now would go over that and cut and stop it all, remove all the flowers and reuse it, and leave it to flower so that it comes into flower sort of the end of August, ready for a show. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave that now, and it will flower. It's just beginning to flower now, and in a nice sunny position. That's going to flower all year for me, hopefully, if I keep it nicely fed. A Thalia, that is. Any more, Mick? Oh, that's another pot I've planted up. That's for myself. There are 9. I've never done this before, but that's one pot. There are 9 different varieties of fuchsia in there. So hopefully that'll make a nice show. I'll keep it up to speed later in the season, hopefully, and see how we get on. But there's 9 different varieties in there, all nice healthy plants. And here's my coming back to Jeffrey's initial question. It's my Pansy and viola baskets that I sowed last August, potted on in the grown on and potted on in the autumn. And you can see they're still making a beautiful show. So as I said previously, I'll take these down in the next few days because the summer baskets are ready. But I will keep those and just see how long I can keep the flowers going. That's it. Cheers.
Austin, cheers, Colin. Right, hands up if you've got a question. Jeffrey?
Yeah, Colin. Do you keep seeds from the pansies and the violas to plant next year, or do you just buy seeds?
I just buy the seeds, Jeffrey. I get the seeds from that company that I mentioned, Moles. Yeah. I haven't tried saving the seeds. I'm not saying it might be a good idea to try because, as somebody said, they will sell seeds, so you know the seed must be viable. And in fact, being as I'm keeping these flowers on now, I will keep my eye open for the seeds. I think previously I've just emptied the baskets and refilled them with summer bedding. You know, but now I've got extra baskets, so I'll try and keep the seed. So I'll keep my eye open for the seeds.
Okay, and have you ever grown a fuchsia on a stem, like you have roses on a stem?
Yes, standards. Yes, yes. I've got 2 or 3 standards on the go. I haven't taken a picture of them. I will do next time. What I did learn over the years was the standard. In fact, I grew one standard of a variety called Mrs. Popple.
Hello.
Taking it in and out of the greenhouse every winter, it was far too big. So now I only grow sort of a miniature 2 foot high, much easier to handle and keep. But they, yeah, it is an interesting hobby.
Okay, thank you.
Colin, them fuchsias you were potting on made a little hole. I noticed that the plants had like shoots coming off at side. Don't you think
They weren't fuchsias, they were salvias.
No, about 4 pictures ago. You had a pot, you had some a compost with a little hole in it.
They were salvias.
Were they?
Yeah, they were the tips off the salvia pots that I'd cut off.
Oh right.
I thought that was the carrots you was transplanting, Colin.
No, that was
No.
I transplanted my salvias and my carrots. I got a little hole in a pot that Steve's talking about, a 4-inch square pot. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, that's right. I think Mick's trying to find it now. There. Can you see it, Cole?
Hey?
Could you see it then? Go back
No,
one minute.
yet. Hang on. That one.
That one.
The salvias.
This one now?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
Colin. That one.
That one with the little hole?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a salvia.
Okay, mate. I couldn't hear what you said because submarine were coming in.
Right. But those salvias, they're like fuchsias. They're so easy to root.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Cole.
Colin, how much are you paying for the bathgate?
£5 a bag.
That ain't bad price, sorry.
Yeah, but that's professional, Nigel.
Now,
Yeah.
hang on, Steve. I said I'd come back to this. I did actually phone. Oh dear, excuse me. I phoned Bathgate Silica up about this and spoke to the rep, and I said there was some confusion over the various products that you've got on site as regards Bathgate Professional and Champions Blend.
Right.
And he said, well, in actual fact, Bathgate Professional shouldn't be available to the general public. It's only available to, should only be available to horticultural professionals. And he said, what's happened here is that we've sold it to a large nursery that produces cuttings, and your supplier has gone to them and bought his bedding plants, etc. And the professional has sold him the compost as well to sell on. So as regards the quantity, the quality, he said there's no difference. He says they will make a specific compost for their suppliers according to their requirements. But essentially, the professional is no different other than the addition of, I think he said the Champions blend has got rock dust in, which the professionals hasn't. I think that's what he said. The professional hasn't unless it's asked for. So, but basically, it says if you get professional for bedding plants and what we're using, you won't go wrong at all.
Right. So there you go then, Nigel. We can just buy that cheaper one.
I'm still buying the Bathgate. I've been in touch with them this week. They've not been producing any Champions blend to keep up with the demand for the trade.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway, guys.
Just try, if you can get hold of one, just try as a comparison one of the professional bags and just compare it to the Champions blend, because I don't know how much you're paying for Champions. I know somebody said it was £14 something on Amazon.
It is, yeah.
Ridiculous.
If I pop round tomorrow, Con, I'll have one of them bags and the sausage sandwich as well.
You're very welcome, Nigel.
Give it back at you, Nigel.
Unless you want to leave it later in the year, and you can bring me some chips if me potatoes fail.
Right, any more questions for Colin while he's on? Colin, you have a star. Cheers, mate.
Thank you, Colin.
Cheers.
Good on you.
Thanks, Colin.
Right, this is Walking the Hound. As we actually now, as I'm walking, I'm seeing more of nature. So I saw these little chaps, zoomed in on them right by the brook. Boston little flowers. Surprisingly, I've only got to go down the following week. Some it dies off, and something else takes its place.
Well,
Even under the trees, obviously the leaves have started rotting away now. But just looking in close here, look at that. That's the leaf mould, which is made it. Nature's made that. Paul, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, that wild flower you saw is wild garlic.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, wild garlic. Yeah,
They
lovely smell.
They call them ransoms.
They stink like hell, man, but they're lovely.
Oh, thank you very much.
are they not a bit broad-leafed for garlic?
That's Steve.
I said,
Anyway.
are they not a bit broadleaf for garlic?
It is garlic because
wild stuff.
our own cemetery is full of it.
Really?
My nan's grave's got loads of it, boy. It's got a strong smell to it. Lovely.
I'll tell you why
I know where it's walked.
I'll tell you why interest, because daughter's just brought me today some wild garlic. Doesn't look like that.
It's probably
look on the internet. Look on the internet for a thing called ransoms.
Ransoms, and is that the wild garlic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Put it in a pot. They'll eat spread.
Right, so if I could get away with it, walking around with this, I always got a bag in the boot. Or I'd make a bag of this, what you call because it's in a park. Right, I had some frames or trellises given me during the week. These were free. I thought, I know what I'm going to use them for. Keith's given me these climbers. I'm tempted to put these out, but it's where the blue and white bells are. I might bung them out next week. But these trellises would be ideal. That's obviously a plant that was in last year. I ain't chopped nothing off. Exactly the same as me bougainvilleas in the greenhouse. Just in case buds do start. Because there's a couple of plants I've got outside. They look dead. And they've just started budding up now. So now I've learned not to chop everything off from the year before. And there's another one out. But these are ideal because I've got my wires on going across the bottom and across the top. So it's just a bit of a pick-me-up. This one here, because we come out the porch onto the back patio, there was about a 1.5 inch gap there. And I did try last year with a bit of composting. And I put a couple of plants in which didn't work. But the sweet peas I put in last year, there's a couple of them. There's one there that's died off. But there's one that's come through from last year, so he's going up. And these have got flowers on as well. So just saying that there ain't much compost there. I have got away with that. What we're doing now, Gladys back garden. This is the second lot going out in my new raised bed, which is here. In fact, I've got to look on the internet and see. I want to get some more of these for the back garden. So of singular beauty, there's 4 lots of these going out. So this is my second lot of 6, obviously. So I've took the straw away, took the holes out, and put the vermiculite in. Each comb goes in and the flower spike is on the outside again. So they've got a bigger distance between those two plants there when they do flower. Plant it up, earth back up again, and then the straws put back. And it did rain that night as well, so I didn't bother with the rain. These lot, these are my prims in the pots. Another lot of these are going out. These you get watered outside. These are put outside in between the greenhouse and the tunnel, and they're watered there. Right, this is one of my spuds, obviously, which I put outside. And he was started off 19th of the 2nd, kestrel, as you can see. These are in a cold greenhouse. Now you can either start them off like this, or as I do, as soon as you get the, well, there's quite a few I planted straight out in a pot and started them off from there. But that last spud, if you remember earlier on, I showed you a photo of 3 sweet corn, 1 decent size and 2 little ones, saying those all started off the same time. Exactly the same as these spuds. That spud there is one of them. And these are still in there now. The amount of direct sunlight, I've got nice, stumpy, thick shoots on. I mean, I'm still there, I'm still nice and solid. But if I'd have planted them out, I'd have got new growth on them. The carrots, what I used to do, because there's only me and the missus now, I don't do it anymore. So this is carrots, which was started off 30th of the 12th. This was in a cold greenhouse as well. Obviously, if you have got an 80 greenhouse, then bung them in. But you can get away all year round in a cold greenhouse or a cold tunnel, just a monthly sow. Leeks, 22nd of the 1st. This was in a cold greenhouse as well. Get away with them. Right, cutting the grass. I've got to teach. You can see where Rosie has a piddle. See where he's killing the grass off. I've got a trainer to piddle on the weeds. If I do it to show her, Brenda will come out next door, put the washing out, and it'll catch me. So I've got to watch what I'm doing. Right, these lot here, obviously outside for watering, but I can't leave them there. The bloody hound will have a field day. So I've got to bung them at the back here with the rest of my gladdies. Still checking my onions. There's one there, he's telling you he ain't no good. He thinks he's dying, which he is because he got a bit soft. So he's gone to seed. He thinks he's going to die, which he is. So he's throwing a new shoot. But these lot here are nice and solid. And these were the saffron onions from Select Seeds, which are outlasting all the others. That's what I grew last year. And this is a photo of Select Seeds. They're them saffron. That's what I used last year. And then Tough Ball, that's the ones there, Tough Ball. That's what I've got in this year. I found a packet, which I didn't know I had, so I'm using them this year. But they're a good keeper as well. Basil, I mentioned this last week. There's a couple of locals saying in some seeds. I says, well, I'm going to sow some myself, so I'll start some up for you. So I've bunged them in normal compost. So I remember last week I put them in them cubes as well. So them are from Gary, me mate. Bit of vermiculite on top, keep the moisture in, and I put them in my propagator, which is still switched on with the lid off. Right, bottom wooden structure, which is covered in scaffolding netting. And now I've put the top on it. I'm now going to look after these onions as well, because originally these just had the wires on them, which you can just make out there. So I've got to take them wires off and put the 2-foot green stick canes and the wire clips on. Good, these wire clips, I get these bulk and all, flog them down our trading sheds. But the clips just go around once you've got your split cane in. Clips just go around, squeeze them in, then they clip onto the cane. All it's doing is keeping that onion up straight, meaning if he was growing it at a loop, he's then struggling to stand up because he doesn't want to grow. The same as a bloody tree. My first fruit tree, I just let it go and he's bloody growing askew. The ones I've got up straight and trained, they give me better fruit than ones that are off. So if you want a decent onion to store or for exhibition, then look after them. Just help him out, because now all he's got to do is grow uphill because you're helping him. That's all I'm doing. So I've done the front 2 rows. Don't forget these beds are 4 foot wide, so I can't reach that back row from this side. So I'm going outside again, and all I'm doing is lifting this corner. Which has got Velcro, which is stapled to the timber all the way around. And then if that's a female Velcro, the male Velcro is on the netting, and I just pull that up and get in that way. That's them all done. Velcro put back down again. The wires now that I've finished with, 2 lots of wires. I've got a bit of old pipe lagging. This is the foam, which it is split down the middle, which is ideal for me. So I'll clasp then, put my foam round, and then put my Velcro around it, 2 strips of Velcro. Wilco's still flogging this stuff, but them are stored away. That's my long uns and my short uns, them will go in the shed, ready for next year. Right, this is a basket, which I found taking the dog for a walk. Somebody threw this over their edge into a field. It was a bit naff, but it was still usable, so I bought it home. I thought I'd use that for Aaron, give him a basket of. Filling him a little, off was it last week or week before. I got 2 sweet peppers from him, so I'm going to give Aaron one of them. Bit of Mike under his arris, get him going. Yeah, nice white roots. See the normal roots when I bought it. And for me, looking after the chap, he's ready to go out. Earth up again to the first leaf. Obviously that was down the bottom, so I'll pull him off because I want to bury a bit of stem as I normally do. So up to the first leaf, give him a good watering. Right, luckily during the week, is it Thursday? I think it's Thursday. In between showers, luckily. We had a delivery of clover. And this is the last lot he's getting. He has no idea now when he's getting any more in. He can't get hold of any. He's had this on order for yonks, but he's struggling. And that is a bloody big garden centre. Also, I had 10 more Grow Organic. That's a good bestseller in our trading sheds. It's a good brew. Smells, but it's a good one. Right, our third speaker, Paul Davis from Colligate, which some of you will know is a quaint little village in the Black Country. Paul, are you ready, sir?
I certainly am, Mick.
Good man, it's all yours.
Okie dokie. As Mick says, I'm from Colligate, member of the Colligate Gardening Club, along with a lot of the other people who are on here. I've been since about 2007, which is where really all this begins. My wife decided that she wanted to join a local gardening club. So she joined the Colligate Gardening Club. She went on her own. She come back and I said, what do you think? She said, yeah, it was good, really good. And I said, all right, okay. She says there's a bar there as well. I said, well, put me in for next month then, I'll come. And that's really where it all started. I met up with Mick and he quickly took me under his wing because I think he could see that I'd got a bit of competition in me. So he started me off on the right track. So that's really the ins and outs of it. So, right, how did I do it? Well, as you can see here, this is This is my kitchen cum conservatory at the back of the house. I think at the front there, this was, what time was this, Mick? Was this March, was it, this year? Mick?
End of March, yes, mate. Yes, Paul, end of March.
Yeah, March, yeah, okay. He come round, yeah, okay. He came round, he looked at the peppers that I'd got growing there, and he said, bloody hell, you've got them in small pots. And I said, well, that's how I always do it. And they were small pots as well. I don't know if you can zoom in on that. But they'd actually be started off in them pots. John Innes #1. That's where it was started in. And they were put in, I don't know whether you can make it out, but behind it is a propagator. So that's what I started them off in. This was probably in the second week in January. And they stayed in there until I would say probably mid-Feb, where all I did then was took the lid off, but kept the heat on underneath, and they carried on growing from there. This is how I've done it now for 4 or 5 years, because I actually got into the growing the chili 5 years ago through a competition at Malvern. Through the giant veg. We'd also exhibited beans and other things, but I don't know, it was just, I think it was the chili, it just inspired me. I just wanted to grow the biggest chili. I started off with a seed from the guy who initially had the world record, Kevin 40, in 2017, I believe that was. Previous to that, I'd actually bought some Anaheim and Poblano peppers because they were known to be the biggest peppers. So that's what I started off with. But then after he'd won it, I asked him if he'd sell me some seed, which he did. So the following year, I grew that seed on. Didn't quite get to his world record, but not far off. Didn't get discouraged. Just thought, you know what, it's just not your year this year, carry on. So again, in 2018, and I think there's a picture on here somewhere, we might come to that later. 2018, I actually equaled his world record from 2017, but by that time, things had moved on, and the pepper that was winning it was a lot heavier anyway. So I was still chuffed by that. You know what I mean? It was, for me, it was a good achievement. So I thought, you know what? You're getting better. You're getting bigger each time. So I thought, next year maybe. Well, next year, 2019, I don't know if you remember, Mick, but they moved the goalposts and they made it any pepper, not just a chili pepper.
Yeah.
So I actually produced one then that was like 380 grams, which was like a big chili pepper at the time. Still wasn't the world record, but I turned up with it thinking, oh, I might stand a chance. No, I had no chance whatsoever. There was bell peppers there that were weighing 760 grams, I believe. So again, didn't get disgruntled. So I went back. By the way, I've saved the seed from all my best peppers from one year to the next. So I always save my own seed. I always use my own seed. And as to yet, I've always had 100% germination. So I don't know whether that's luck or what, but it's happened. So we had another go last year. And as we know, we all got this bloody coronavirus thing, which was good for some people, but bad for others. It was good for me in the sense that I could be up the allotment every single day, which is where I was. So that year, I'd open the door if it was too hot. I'd close the door if it was too cold. I could feed, water. I could just look after the plants totally. And come September, I was looking at this one particular chili, which was in the greenhouse up on the top of my allotment plot. And I thought, that looks a fair old size. And I kept watching it, and it got to really dark, deep red, which you'll probably see it later on. And I thought, okay, it's time to cut it now. So I cut it, brought it back home, and didn't wait for, I don't know, it might have been a few days. I just kept looking at it. And in the end, I thought, I'll tell you what, I'll throw it on the kitchen scales. Well, they're only in pounds and ounces. So I chucked it on there and I thought, enough a pound. So gets the phone out, works it out. And I thought, well, what's the current record? Well, at the time it was 420 grams. So I worked it out and I thought, well, you got somewhere near 450 grams here. So I wonder if it's been beat. So again, I went on Guinness World Records and looked, no, still 420 grams. So I started the ball rolling. And I thought, right, we're in a lockdown. We're all wearing masks. How am I going to do this? So I had this brainwave. I thought, I'll tell you what, I'll go to the post office. And local to us, we've got quite a good post office, to be honest. So I did no more. I chucked it in a carrier bag, went off to the post office, and there's a few people in there when I got there. So I'm hanging about outside with my mask on, keep looking through the windows, and I could see the girls keep looking at me behind the counter, and they must have been thinking, "Oh, yep, we're in for a raid here or something. There's some dodgy character outside, keeps looking in." Anyhow, eventually, the post office cleared. So I thought, okay, it's now or never. In I walked with a carrier bag. They'd all got their hands under the counter. I think one had got the cosh and the other one was ready to press the panic alarm. And I did no more, but pulled the pepper out the carrier bag, and they went, "What's that?" I said, "Can you do me a big favour and weigh this for me, please?" And they went, "Yeah, what is it?" I said, "It's a chili pepper." "Never." I said, "It is, it's a chili pepper." Anyhow, I went down the 3 scales, and much to my delight, it was exactly the same on all 3 scales. So I took a picture on all 3 scales, went to the printers next door, got them to verify one of the prints, stamp it and say it was a genuine likeness. Went back into the post office again, said to the girls, I said, "Would you mind being witnesses for me to say that, this has been done here?" "Yeah, no problem." So then I went from there and I thought, you know what? I need more than this. This is not enough. So I thought, Mick, there's only one person, Mick. So I went up to Mick's and I said, "Mick, you need to do something for me." And he said, "What's that?" I said, "Can you weigh this? And I'll do a video of you, please." He said, "Yeah, because I will, Rag," as he calls me. So I did the video, and then I come back, sat on the computer, Guinness Book of World Records, entered it, to which they then came back about a week later and says, "Well, it can take up to 12 weeks unless you've got £1,000 that you don't want. And then, that'll speed things up and that'll move stuff on." Well, out of the question. So I thought, you know what, we've got to wait the 12 weeks. So I put the pepper in the fridge thinking, oh, somebody's going to come round, have a look at it. 2 months later, I removed it from the fridge, by this time now half rotted. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to have to cut it up and take the seeds out and grin and bear it. If they need that sort of proof, then I can't supply it. So it's just bad luck again. But anyhow, it moved on. And as it moved on, they kept asking more questions. Who's your guy on the video? I said, "Well, it's Mick Pansy, the compost king." "Surely you know who that is." This is all by email, by the way. So they said, no, we need evidence, paperwork or something to say who he is. I went, all right, okay. So then that went on another 3 months, didn't it, Mick, if I remember right?
Yeah, pain in the ass.
Yeah, that was another 3 months going on. So by now we're obviously in 2021. Then they asked for something else. I can't remember what it was at this moment in time, but I found that evidence, and oh yeah, can you give us evidence of what a poblano pepper is? Well, it's on Wikipedia, it's on the internet. Luckily, I'd got the packet that the seed still came on, said poblano on it and capsicum annuum. So I provided that evidence as well. That went to them, and then I said, look, in the email, I said, look, I'm at my wit's end. I can't give you any more evidence than I've give you. I can't tell you anything else. It just is what it is. And I just thought, well, it ain't going to happen. And I think it was a week or 2 weeks later, I got an email off them saying, terrific news. You are now the Guinness World Records heaviest chili pepper. So I got it in the end. So, you know, it was brilliant. Anyhow, let's move on.
You want to go through the photos then, Paul?
Yeah, we'll go through the photos now. Yeah.
Congratulations, mate.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This here, this company actually sponsors me now. A company called Eva Ponick in Langar in Nottinghamshire, and they are like the UK's #1 nutrients maker, if you like. They supply a lot of other companies. They make the nutrients for them, and they supply a lot of the companies in not only in UK but abroad as well. So I actually phoned them up and said, I've grown a big chili. You know, is it any interest of you? And I think the second word that come out of his mouth was sponsorship. I think he just said, we will sponsor you. And I said, really? And he went, yeah. So I thought, great. I mean, me and Mick both like to trial stuff. So this is one of the products we're trialing, beneficial bacteria culture. It's well, you need to read up about it really. If you go on them, evaponic.com, it's got all this information for all the chemicals that are here. There's a little bit on the back there. I haven't got my glasses on, so I can't actually see what it's got on it there at the moment. But what I've done with one of the photos that's coming on later, it does say you can roll your seed in it, which actually coats your seed in this bacteria. Now, these are actually my peppers. Again, as you can see in the small pots, that PK bulk is what I think actually made my pepper what it was last year. But I'll come on to that a little bit later. These, that there, that's sort of a temperature that's in the kitchen conservatory out the back. That's at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, as you can see, and the humidity is 36%. That varies, that goes up and down through the day, but it never really drops much below probably about, I think the coldest it went was last night. No heating on last night, and it went down to 14. But normally, because it's in the kitchen at the back of the house, winter months, the heating's on. We've always got the heating on at a constant 18 degrees. So in that room, really, it's normally 18 degrees. So I think that is a beneficial factor to actually doing what I did. Plus, again, you can see the propagator there just behind the thermometer, and some of the peppers and the tomatoes that I'm growing. Okay, Mick. All right. Okay. This is a comparison. The one on the left was rolled in the BBC1 bacteria. The one on the right wasn't. I don't know whether you can see it on there, but the one on the left has actually got, I think it's got 6 leaves on it. The one on the right has only got 4 leaves on it. Now they were both done on exactly the same day, exactly the same time. The only difference is that, I say, the one on the left was in that beneficial bacteria culture. I also watered them from go with another product from Evaponic called Super Roots, which is a liquid mycorrhizal fungi. It gives astonishing results. These are the bottles that I use. One's plain water, as you can see on the left, and the one on the right is with the feed in it. Bearing in mind these feeds, some of them you're only using 0.25 of a mil to a litre. So in those 2 litre tubs, you're only using half a mil to that. And it really is concentrated. And as far as that, I'm just sticking to that at the moment. These are another 2 products. Actually, have we got the one where that's wilted, Mick? That pepper. There you go. The one day it was looking like that. The soil was moist. Everything was fine, but you can see it's got a damn good top growth on it. This has been having all these products put to it. So what I did, again, these are maybe 0.25 of a mil. So I mixed another vial up with 0.25 of each of those, Magical Extra and the Elixir steroids. I fed it with that, and within 2 hours, if you go back to the one before me, there it is. That's what happened to it in 2 hours. I don't fully understand why it was wilted, but this Magical Extra, originally it was, I think they say it was developed for disease plants and plants that have been attacked by pests. Well, the extra bit now is because it does extra stuff as well. So they've just called it Magical Extra now. And the Elixir steroids, they're actually steroids that are derived from plant. So they help the plant in a lot of ways. Okay, mate. This is the allotment. That's the 6x6 greenhouse that I actually grew the chili in. When I grew it last year, that greenhouse has just been plonked on the soil, glass put in. I then dug the soil over and I added to the soil spent mushroom compost, grow more, grow more. Jared, please. And Epsom salts. It had a good sprinkling of Epsom salts. The chili went in the far right-hand corner that you can see there. And in the left-hand corner on this facing side, I put 2 tomatoes in there. The tomatoes were fantastic. They were actually touching the top of the greenhouse, kept pinching them out. I couldn't stop them from growing. Excuse me. This here is the, I think this was about 2 or 3 days ago. And the pepper in the front, well, that's got flowers on it now. The tomatoes, which are at the back, they're Gigantimo tomatoes. They've also got flowers on them now. Excuse me. And they're going to be going out next week, hopefully. So They'll be going into BioBiz compost, and then the complete program from the evaponic people, I'll be applying that to them in order to try and beat my world record. This is an example of two of these were both given to me about 3 weeks ago. The one on the right is probably about the size that it was when it was given to me. All that I did with that was potted it on into BioBiz compost. The one on the left, I've been applying the nutrients to that, and I'm sure you can see there's hell of a difference between the two. This is an experiment that will keep going on, obviously, for the rest of the year. So hopefully, as things move on, I'll be able to update you. Hopefully, if everything goes hunky dory, and we'll just look at the progress. They're two of the other peppers that's going out. That's one of the Gigantimo tomatoes at the back. I think there's one of the flowers is the Mick or not, or did I not send you that one?
Might be on another strapper.
Yeah. There's I think they're tomatillos. See, they're the ones in the foreground. They're what my wife's growing. She's a keen grower. She grows loads of stuff, far more than me. I'm a bit more competition orientated, so they're the flowers on the peppers. As of this week, actually. So that's them. I say they're going out next week, hopefully. There's the flowers on the or the buds, shall we say, on the Gigantimo tomato. Again, that's got to go out. It's getting too much for the kitchen now. So there's the greenhouse again. I think that is actually a picture from, yes, it is definitely where Mick's got the arrow there. That's where the pepper was. And then the two that you can see next to it on the left, they're the tomatoes. I had those off Jimmy Checkett's. He does tell me what it's called, but I tell you what, it lasts in my head for about 2 seconds. So I must have asked him 20 times what is it. I'll have to find out if anybody wants to know what it is, but it's a tomato that the NVS had a competition at Malvern with. Do you remember that, Mick?
Yeah.
Was it a couple of years ago or something? Did they put up 200 or 300 quid for it or something like that? I think they did, didn't they?
Yeah.
Through one of the seed companies, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy won it, so obviously he brought the tomatoes back off what he won it off, and I've had the seed off him ever since. So smashing tomato. There's hardly any seeds in them, and it's a really nice tasting tomato. That's what I grew the pepper in. That was sunk into the soil, and I used to water into that. I used to fill that to the brim, maybe once, maybe twice. At that point, I was probably using a high nitrogen feed to start off with from Chempack. But the problems that I've found with Chempack is, if you don't keep it right, you end up with a nasty blue mess in the bottom of a plastic bag, and it gets very difficult to use. These are me long runner beans. They've been in that pot for absolutely ages. I thought I'd lost them, but just in the last 3-4 days, they've come up. So I'm chuffed about that, because I thought I wasn't able to grow any long beans. That's the tomato I was on about that I had off Jimmy. I say it's a cracking tomato. It really does have good flavour. I'll be doing those again this year. I'm trying to grow a big tomato. That's one of the peppers when it was green. that was in the polytunnel down the bottom. Because my wife's got the plot. My daughters, well, both of my daughters have got plots there as well. So we've actually got 4 plots at this allotment. So we're never stuck for space for anything to go, really. But, you know, you can always run out of space. But we just grow what we want to grow, really, what we like to eat or what we like to do. There's the pepper on the post office scales, as you can see. It filled out quite a lot. And I honestly believe that the reason that this pepper filled out to what it did was because of the use of that PK bulk. That I honestly believe that made so much difference. And I told the guys at the nutrient company this as well. So we'll see what happens this year, because we're proper going big for it now. There's Mick when he done the video for me. Again, I honestly believe if Mick hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be giving this interview to you now. I can't thank him enough, because it just didn't seem viable. You know what I mean? I couldn't see any way of doing it any other way. But a big thanks to Mick again. Yeah. And there's me holding it in front of my old van. So he seems to get bigger in every photo, doesn't it? if that was only the case. But yeah, the only thing I regret, really. Oh, that was the one the year before. I told you that it was. I thought I'd got a big chili pepper that year, but as you can see, it's got the length, but it hasn't got it ain't got the girth on it. It just hasn't got the weight. And again, this is why I think that PK bulk, as it says, well, I started calling the stuff bulk up. I'm convinced it must have done it. I can't see any other reason why. And there's me with me Guinness World Records certificate, which went in the newspaper. Well, it was online actually. They didn't put it in the newspaper. But off that, I had to give a radio interview yesterday with BBC West Midlands, but they only give me a couple of minutes, so I couldn't really say much in that time. But yeah, that's about it. That's a radish that I grew for Malvern. Again, I was well chuffed with that. Took me about an hour and a half to get it out of the bucket with all the little roots that are on it. Took it there thinking, you know, well, I'm in for a chance. No chance. Nowhere near. I think I probably finished about 12th or something like that. But hey, I'll keep trying. I'll keep going. Right. Carnation competition. Single carnation. Gets to Malvern. We're mucking about. I'd actually forgot it was in a bucket in the back of the van. So when we were coming away, I think it was Trevor, my mate, says, "What's this in this bucket here?" I said, "Oh, it's my carnation." I said, I'll go and take it in there and put it in. And yeah, I'd got that bottle of water with me. So I walked into the competition, walked around where the vases are, no vases. So Trevor says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to stick it in the bottle." I says, "You know, it's good enough for me. If it ain't good enough for the judges, that's tough." I said, "It's going in the bottle. I've grew it. I've come here with it. It's going in the bottle." So I did. I just chucked it in the bottle and threw it in its position on the bench. That, incidentally, is not for mine. What you can see behind the prize. That's for the one behind it, which is in that rather nice vase. But yeah, just a bit of fun. I just threw it in there and thought, whatever. It gives some people a smile, you know what I mean? You could hear people walking past and commenting and laughing and some frowning. But, well, there you go. That's just how I am. And that's it. Any questions?
Cheers, Paul, mate. Good man. Right, anybody good questions, Paul? got your hand up? Paul Westwood, you got your hand up? Nigel, you've got your hand up?
Yeah.
Go on,
I've
Nigel.
got my hand.
All right.
Go on, Nigel.
On them, all them products you mentioned, was the feeding regime given to you by the nutrient company, or have you just used when you thought it would be right to use them?
Well, the PK bulk that I used last year,
yeah,
I used that to my discretion, but I didn't go off what it said on the label. I actually watered it down a little bit, so I made my own feeding schedule. You know what I mean? I didn't start off with what it said. I think it said something like 10 mil to start off with. You know what I mean? In 10 litres. So I probably started off with 5 mil.
And do you have to wait till it started flowering before you feed with that?
Yes, you do. Yeah. You really want the fruit. You want the flower to have actually germinated and the fruit starting really.
Right. And do you use that with that super roots, or do you use the super roots to get the plant going?
Oh, right. Okay. This year's a bit different. Super roots, and there's another product called A and B, which is a nutrient that you feed with. So all of these can be mixed together, but you have to do them one at a time. So you'd put the super roots in, bit of water, swash it about a bit. See, the beauty of it is that they're not crystals. It's actually liquid, so it doesn't take much to get it to actually mix into the water.
Can you use this with hydroponics, or have you got to use it with?
You can use it on cocoa, soil, or hydroponics.
Right. Okay.
It'll work on all three. So you know it's there's no PGRs in them, so there's no growth regulators.
Yeah.
So for that reason, although they haven't had the products tested, they say if they did have them tested, everything would be organic, classed as organic.
So with the PK bulk, do you use that with the elixir steroids as well, or one or the other, or both?
Right, elixir steroids.
Yeah.
And the super roots, well, you generally stop with the super roots after the flowers have flowered.
Right.
So you'll do super roots up until the flowers have flowered.
So you said that was like a liquid mycorrhizal?
Yes. Yeah. You then carry on with the Magical and the elixir steroids.
Yeah. There's
an A and B nutrient that you start with, but then there's another one for flowers. So it's weaker on the nitrogen and that sort of thing, but it ups on the phosphorus, and it's got magnesium, boron, sulfur. It's got all that stuff in it, you know what I mean? But you then use the PK bulk with that as well.
All right.
So you may be using 3 or 4 different nutrients, but in very, very concentrated small quantities.
Yeah.
So it's getting a bit of everything.
And what compost are you using now?
Pardon?
What compost are you using?
BioBiz.
Right.
All mix. You know the BioBiz all mix.
Yeah. Is that similar to like the Canna products and stuff like that?
Yeah. Very similar. But the only thing is these are all UK products.
Right.
They're not foreign products, and that again was why I really wanted to get in with these guys, because of it being I don't know, patriotic, I suppose, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Fly the flag.
Yeah, let's keep it at home. Yeah.
That's
so
great. Thank you for that, Paul.
All right.
Thank you.
Paul.
Yep.
Steve Chambers.
Right.
My screen's not very big. What did you win? Did you win with that carnation in a bottle?
No, didn't get nothing.
Oh, never mind.
That was a rip-off, really, weren't it? You know what I mean? Just for entertainment value, I should have got something.
Yeah, well, were you showing the bottle or were you showing the carnation? That's what judges should have thought.
Well, I should have took the label off the bottle, really, shouldn't I?
Good advertising.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Any more questions for Paul? Of course, no hands up.
I must have answered everything, Mick.
Yeah, that's what I'll say to him when I do my talks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul.
Covered everything. Cheers,
Very
Paul,
interesting.
mate.
Thank you.
All right.
Mick,
cheers,
I have
thank
to. Mick, I'm told I'm going downstairs now for some of the week, so I'll see you all next time.
Cheers,
I don't
Jerry.
get a choice in this one.
Cheers,
Cheers,
mate.
Jerry.
Hey, Carol. Be good.
All right.
Cheers, Paul, mate.
All right, Mick. Cheers.
Good man. Right, let's get back on the list, lot. Went round to Aaron's, our youngest, in the week for a different walk for the hound. An anthurium or lace leaf, which is this chap here. Get him this earlier on. I think he's had it 2 years now. You don't talk to it, wear to it, nothing. Look at him. Beautiful. Also, this little chap on the right. Crap. Now, he had this. I think this was from Lidl. I had one myself. Halloween, he had this. That's how long this lasted. It was dry as a ferret. You don't even look at it. Look at it. Gordon, Benny. I'm going to get him to start growing some of my veg. Because he's trotting some of Paul's muck. Just going from his house over to Mary Stevens Park. Past quite a few houses. And the close-up with the wisteria. Beautiful. And I found a tree in Mary Stevens. Took a photo of him. At an unusual angle. The bark on that was it. I'm still trialing these plugs with anything I'm going in. I'm ripping them up and planting through the hole as well. Gene down the road, he gave me 2 trailing tomatoes. I thought, I know where I can bung them. So I put them either side of Aaron's basket. Onion sets. If this place has still got them, you see them, it still ain't too late to plant onion sets out. Well, start them off indoors. You can put them out, I suppose, now. But I still start them off in the greenhouse, cold greenhouse. I've got the room. Somebody gave me these, I got them spare. But usually, a couple of weeks ago, that's when I go down Wilco. And I'll get the onions when they start flogging them off cheap. For them to get them out of the way. Because we grow more onions than anything in the house. Because we use more onions, cooking wise. But that's another trade, then we'll go out later on. Red currants, top of the garden. Obviously, this is the other side of the trellis before we get to the greenhouse. And if we zoom in on that one, you'll just about make the red currants out there. But it should be a good year this year, hopefully, for them. And the hound is getting too quick for me now. Keeps nicking me bloody boot. Obviously, when I ain't got it off. Right, this was down the plot Friday. Friday or Saturday when we went down the shed. Now it might have been Saturday. This is our wood chip pile here. And obviously I'm getting rid of another lot and I put it next here. That is a spare gap. Otherwise they'd have had a tearing off. But this is a local wood chipper. But it's good wood chip and all. But that's the most we've ever had on site. This was Lidl this morning. I saw these. Lawn trimmer, 20 quid. I thought that's what I need. So I got one. And it's quite good to put together actually. It's quite simple, even for me, because I'm shit at this stuff. But I trimmed the back of the wall and the bottom. But it grown over the slabs that much. The cable cut halfway up there. Meaning I've got a stronger cable, so as soon as I put that on there, this will be a Boston. It'll be a good buy. It was down Little. Right, speakers for next week. We got Jeffrey. He's going to give us an update on his plot again. We've also got Neil from Wednesbury. He's also the Black Country. Not sure we'll understand him, as he don't speak proper like me. He's a new one. He'll give us a good insight into his up and under him. Plus, we got Keith Asper, third speaker next week. He gives us an update on his growing season. And so I'll thank our speakers for tonight, and I hope you've all enjoyed it.
Thank you, guys. It's been fun.
Good.
That's it. Very interesting.
There's always a couple of little cock-ups halfway through, I expect there anyway, but we got away with it. Any questions on any? Cheers,
Yeah.
Suzanne.
Thanks a lot. See ya.
All right.
Cheers.
Bye.
People.
See ya.
No, Mick. Mick,
Yes.
I forgot to say about the CO2 out the spent mushroom compost then on.
You did all.
Yeah.
Go on then, give us a spiel.
Well, it was just what I read on the internet, weren't it? About it gives off CO2. The what's it called? Mycelium.
Yeah. Nick
Yeah.
Blake, are you on here tonight or not?
He went off.
Did
Yeah.
Because I know he's in all the big boys are into the CO2. I know Peter Glazebrook is. It's so much extra for the plants. And if you'll just explain, Paul, how you found out about it and gone into that.
Well, all I did, I went on the internet because I was looking for my stuff and this, that, and the other. Yeah. So I thought I'll look in because the guys are going to sort me out with CO2. The sponsors, Evaponic. So I thought I'll start looking into it. And there was a product called Exhale, I think it was called, and it's like a bag. And what it does, it exhales and it lets CO2 out at a controlled level into your greenhouse or your growing room or wherever you're growing. And like you say, it's beneficial for the plants, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it helps them take up certain nutrients and this, that, and the other. So I then started looking at this guy's blog, if you like, and he said it took him 20 years to realise that a lot of CO2 was actually coming out of the spent mushroom compost through the mycelium. So I then spoke to the guys who sponsor me, and I said, "Did you know about this?" And they went, "Oh yeah, we know all about that." So once they update me on what it is and how it works, I can then pass that on. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
That'll be good.
I'd heard something. There's a stuff called, I think it's Exhale, I think.
That's it.
You hang it up in the grow room, and it works on, to get it to grow fast, you got to have something like 1,500 parts per million for the CO2, but it increases the growth rapidly, it does.
Yeah, that's what they told me, yeah. But I think from the blog that I read, he said that it had derived from spent mushroom compost somewhere. And if you look at the bag as well, it does look like a bag of straw and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
interesting, that is.
See, even something like that, it's worth a try, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, we have. Yeah. We've got a couple of bags now, and see what I'm going to try and get hold of is a CO2 meter. Well, because my greenhouse is only 6 foot by 6 foot, I can throw a bag of spent mushroom compost in there, and if I keep it all closed up, and I can get hold of a CO2 meter, I can measure it, and I can see if it is releasing CO2 into the atmosphere.
Mm.
Yeah, you could have the door open for an hour or something, then close it up and see what the difference is.
All you got to do is put a bit of moisture in that bag.
Yeah.
And just leave it open slightly. Well, it's trial and error, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It'll be interesting to check the level before you put it in and all.
Yeah.
The article I read, I think it said normal CO2 levels for plants is around 400 parts per million. And if it drops below a certain level, I don't know what it is, the plant actually stops growing.
No. Yeah, I think on that bloke's blog it was mentioning something like that.
It might have been the same thing I've been reading actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it was definitely exhale, so it probably was. It was probably the same thing.
Colin.
See you, Colin.
Yeah,
Colin.
The Amazon kid.